G'day guys, my name's Josh, you can call me Shawoodle, and welcome back to 7 Days to Die, where I'm back in my testing world in Shawoodle Park to have a look at one of the features that came out in Alpha 20 that I haven't really had a gander at yet, and that is the new zombie crawling mechanics, where they like hunker down and can squeeze their way through smaller gaps in bases than they could before, which I'm actually all about. Given the zombies more range of motion is a good thing. I mean, yes, I know they're already like super genius structural engineer zombies, but that's beside the point. But I wanted to have a little look-see at what the new crawling mechanic does, how it works, what the limitations of that is, and then of course, how that can be exploited to make Horde nights better. So my understanding of how the crawling mechanic works is that if there's a gap in your Horde base, like a doorway or something that's not quite full size, so like a 2-block gap is a normal door, the zombies will walk through that nice and happily, but there's a gap that's smaller than that, they'll like bend over and get on all fours and like kind of crawl their way through. However, I tried to rely on that mechanic when I was building the hatch hallway over here, thinking that maybe having the hatches down below and a full gap up the top would encourage zombies to start crawling, so I tried to build against that. That's why the plates are here. But in practice, that very, very rarely happened, and I think it was because, like, yes, they can go into crawling mechanics, but they can't jump in the crawling mechanics, because otherwise, go back over here, otherwise, they would have jumped up here to squeeze through there. But I think if that was reversed, if that hatch wasn't there was a 1-block gap at the bottom, not at the top, then they would have been more encouraged to go into crawling. So that's the first thing that I want to have a look at, where the gap needs to be in relation to the zombies to get them to start crawling. And once I know that, then I can start to kind of like prod it a little bit and see where its weaknesses are. Because I want to test the crawling mechanic and the crawling mechanic only, I've built myself a little elevator platform here so the zombies have to come up to me, because I also want to know if I'm building like a wall that has a crawling spot through it, will the zombie pathing in all of its wonderful glory decide that it wants to break down the column underneath it rather than squeeze through the gap? Like, how good is the pathfinding AI at recognizing smaller gaps as viable options? So to start off, I don't need stairs anymore, just need the regular blocks. I'm just going to build myself a wall like this. We'll go 3 high actually, and I'll just prop myself up on the middle of nowhere out the other side over here, because if they can squeeze through there, then I know that it works with a single block gap. At the moment, I'm expecting it to only really work at 1.5 blocks. I know that was kind of the case back at the start of Alpha 20, but it might have had a tweak since then. So this is what I want to test first. I just need some Arlenes. Sometimes I almost feel bad, you know, just getting a whole bunch of Arlenes all the time, dropping them in like it's some sort of zombie version of a rat race. Get your attention, turn on your brains, and see what you do. So you've come up to start with, that's fine. Nope, nope. Oh! Interesting, very interesting. So one of the 5, decided to start crawling. Okay. That's good. I wasn't expecting any of them to make it through there, but having some sort of result is good for me. Nice, nice, nice. I will kill all of you guys nice and quickly. Kill you all. Thank you very much. We'll try that again and see if we can replicate those results. That's very interesting. I've flipped over the blocks, that's all good. Let's get some more Arlenes in. I'm not exactly sure at the moment how this could be used properly. Like, I know like if they're crawling, it means that like they're not gonna be moving around as much, because the biggest, oh yes, there we go. So she's crawling because she's on the same level as the hole, because she's riding other zombie shoulders, getting a shoulder ride of doom, trying to get through the gap. Okay, that's fine. If I could just murder your step ladders there though, murder both of those so you're back down on a normal level. Do you go back to standing? You're crawling at the moment, you're both trying to crawl, can't do it. Okay, so they can't jump when they're crawling, that's good. So the way that I think I can use this is because when they're down on all fours like that, they don't waggle side to side like they do when they're running, which means shooting them in their heads, way easier. Shooting them at all, way easier. Makes them more susceptible to a bunch more stuff as well. So if we can take that information and build something specifically to force them to crawl, then we can have our way with them. It's still gonna be a bit of like a brute force base rather than like a, not a thinking base, just a strength base, which is fine, but I reckon we could do that. So one last thing before I move on from this, I've extended the little testing platform here to make the tunnel longer, because when that gap was on the floor, 1 out of 5 zombies wanted to crawl through it. When it was above, none of the zombies wanted to crawl through it unless they could ride their co-zombies' faces into the hole. So now, I want to grab a half block. I've tested it 1 block up and down, but what about a half block or 1.5 block on the ground level? That might give me what I'm after, because I want consistent crawling. I want every zombie that shows up to go into the crawling mechanic to make it more repeatable and more reliable. Anything that's predictable can be much easier accounted for. That was almost English, but either way, get another couple of you. Let's get like 10 of you this time and get you all over here. How many of you are going to start crawling? Ooh, so they do start, just like the evolution of Arlene in here, from full standing to half bend over to quadruped, like we're watching Mo go back into the water in one of the greatest Simpsons openings of all time. That's, yeah, okay, I quite like my de-evolution of Arlene little diorama here, but that's really interesting. So they didn't even blink, they didn't slow down, they charged through, but they did start crawling by the end of it. Very interesting. Okay, what about then if I continue that idea and turn it into a single block by the end of it? So let's get, not Josh, E's are important, buy a frickin' vowel or something. You'd be terrible at Wheel of Fortune. Grab you and stick you up on the roof like that. So it starts out as a 1.5 block and then condenses down to a single block. Hopefully that will encourage all the zombies to start crawling and continue crawling into the single block opening. We're getting places, we're getting results. Because of my accidental discovery before that I can look inside the tunnel and see what the zombies are doing, I decided to put like a glass wall on the side just so I can peer inside and see how the zombies are actually reacting. I am going to want to paint these things red though so I can see where that slope down actually is. That looks good. Okay. Let's give this a whirl. Yes, it's longer again. The thing I'm looking for here is how much the zombies slow down when they reach that choke point. Because if they're going to stop and start beating on that block there, this is redundant. It makes no bloody sense. But I want to try and get them into as small a space as possible. Because if you imagine, if I was like sitting at the end here, maybe like 1 block further down, looking through there with like an M60 or something, I was going to have a massive undead flesh coming at me for me to hose into. It's going to make my life so much easier. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. We'll go back out here. We will get some Arlenes again. Get 10 of them. There we go. Get their attention. Come this way, please. How are you going to react? Up, straight in, start crawling. And none of them even stopped for a moment. In fact, I mean, there's a whole lot of like Arlene centipede going on in here. Basically, even when it got fully congested in there and it was this chock-a-block full of zombies, none of them blinked. So you can kind of like compress them down into a smaller and smaller area, like you're making a zombie sausage. I keep thinking I want to go off and start building a crawling base, but then as I'm like walking away, or in this case flying away, I start thinking like, oh, but what about this? What will happen if this happened? What would happen if that happened? What other questions can I answer? So I promise I'll build it soon. I just want to like do one more thing, or maybe 2 more things, knowing me. What are cops gonna do in here? Because a cop has its like vomiting animation, right? You know, like it like brings up its kebab and like sprays its arms aside to yeet all of its innards at you and destroy your base. So if it can't do its firing animation, what's it gonna do? Can I stop a cop from vomiting just by having it like get stuck in a tube like this? I want to know. Let's get ourselves a cop actually out here. Go zombie cop, only the one. Let's get a feral boy. That should be fine. Come this way, please. No, I don't want you to vomit before you get into the tunnel. Excuse me. Shit. So you're different. Why are you different? Why? And why do you change when you get to there? I turned off your brains and then you decided to start crawling. Well, okay, you're where I want you to be now. Look at ya. Look at ya. Bent down to the all fours, ready to fuck some shit up. So do you vomit at any stage? I want to quickly tell you, AI again. I mean, this is fine. I just want to lock you in, because as long as you're in there, you will still vomit at me eventually, won't you? I think. Man, I might have to change this. I've added just a bar at the end of this to try and clog up that tunnel full of zombies, because I know that if a cop is a bit further away, he will still try and vomit at me, so I'll get you. I'll also get some Arlene's out there to go in first and cause a drama. First of all, please make it into the tunnel this time. I really need you to. There we go. So that first one was just a weird one. Dang. So he kind of breaks the word a little bit because he has to do that vomiting animation. So rather than be constrained by physics and solid objects, the game's like, fuck you, he's gonna vomit anyway, and just force the animation. Okay, well, we got the answer that I wanted. Took a bit longer to get there than I thought I was going to. But now we know that a cop will still goz regardless of what's happening. I kind of think that this would be a pretty good match for like an underground base. I know a lot of people dig big holes and go to like the center of the earth and live down there, and that's totally fine. Not really a great way for me to do it when I'm testing stuff, because digging a massive hole, even with dev tools, is really annoying to do. But also, it's harder to like backtrack and rebuild something that doesn't work. So I do think that something like this would be pretty good if you were at the bottom of a pit, so they'd have to fall down and then make their way across you like that. But you gotta be really deep though. If you're anywhere near the surface, they'll just tunnel through the softer dirt to get to you rather than come through concretes. But for now, I just have a simple chute with some stairs leading up to get the zombies in, so they're always going to come from this direction. And now I want to... Ooh, you know what? Actually, no, I want to extend this a bit further. I think this seems to be relatively long because they are going to be trampling about pretty happily. But I need to make sure I have enough room at the start of this to encourage them to go into crawling, which means I might change the approach. Over there, I had that wedge tip, but I now have the narrow wedges as well. That might be a more gentle nudge into crawling as opposed to a spatula to the forehead. So I'm going to expand it a little bit, use the narrow blocks. They take up more space, but in my head, should be more reliable. So this is what I've got so far. At the moment, it's just, I mean, it's basically just a corridor. It's a tunnel, right? But it's all nice and solid and all nice and lovely, because I am building this with the idea in mind that if you were putting this under the deck, it would need to be pretty solid all the way around, because if you have a weakness in the roof, the zombies will target that rather than running the long way to get to. So, gotta make sure the roof is nice and strong. But now that I have this, I want narrow. I want to start off with the narrow blocks. It's gonna take 4. Do I have the narrow ones? What do I use over there? This is why I wanted to keep this standing so I could reference it later. So with this one, we just had a fat solid edge down to half a block and then smoothed it down. So if I just skip the half a block portion and just make it... Oh, actually, no, I can ramp this. I can ramp this lovely like. Give me the narrows. Give me the narrows. Because sometimes it takes a moment to register what I've clicked on. It just doesn't quite work out as quickly as I wanted it to. We'll go like that. We'll get the first 2 narrow blocks to really ease the zombies in. And then, once they're in there nice and snug, we can bonk them on the noggin with a proper fat boy wedge. Register for me. There we go. On face, up onto the roof, along like that. And that should, we paint all you up. I might actually add in some glass on the side again so I can see how they all react. But that should give them a nice, quiet, easy suggestion to get down like that. There we go. Got a nice little smorgasbord of zombies out there ready to go. I'm in my little trough bucket over here. AI on, get their attention. I just want to run this a little bit slower to see how they all react. So Arlene goes in, gets bonked on the noggin, and starts crawling. Which from my point of view, like from the point of view of old mate in here, look at that. Look how easy that's going to be to just start spraying and murdering. Biker Boy, importantly, I wanted to test the bigger zombies. Biker Boy crawling along, as you do, shaking his head back and forth like he's whipping his hair around. Look at that big sausage down the back there, though. Demo Boy is coming through. Excuse me, if you could please, Yeti Man, because I need to have a squiz of what's behind you. Get rid of all the bodies. Look at ya. Look at how protected his bloody button is. That's very interesting. Like, I'm sure there's still some sort of collision matrix that's going to make that much more difficult. But from what I can tell, that's going to be way harder to hit his nipples now. Copy Boy's coming in. Excuse me. You'll need to die. That's pretty good. Oh, he's going to vomit. He did vomit. But he folded on the back of his pet. A little rude. A big night, buddy boy. But if he vomits from there, he's just gonna hit the blocks at the start, not cause me any grief. Hang on a second. Are the dogs not coming into the crawl space? No, they're not. So, oh, there you are. Hey, buddy. So, what? Every other zombie has a crawling mechanic except the dog, so the lowest of the zombies can't get in. That's I wasn't expecting that at all. I even said when I placed the dogs, I was like, this will be fine. This is a no-brainer. But now they're here. They're just like, nah, mate, not happening. Get wrecked. Fine. Be that way then. I'm really curious now. If I get, like, 4 demo zombies, I suppose, and get them to come up here, I want to know if I'm spraying with an M60, which, by the way, you can put suppressors on M60s now, which is a really good time. I didn't think you could do that in Alpha 19, but apparently in Alpha 20, you definitely can. So if they're rocking up the stairs over there and I'm just spraying with the M60, can I hit their nipples? That's what I need to know. So please come up here, whip out the old M60, down you go. Just quickly slow everything down so I can take as much time with this as I need to. So that's interesting. So when you get shot and you don't die, you go and stand up again like you're... This isn't going very well at all. They're moving faster than I wanted them to. Alright, just hang out there for a second. Hang on. I'm gonna go over here and just go like this. So with you guys in your crawling state, not you two, because you're out of your crawling state now, but can I hit your nipples? Physics. Who cares about physics anyway? He's dead. No, he's not. He's still alive. But like, no beeping. No nothing. I'm firing pretty indiscriminately. I'll keep trying that again, because if I can just have a whole bunch from down here, just keep on spraying. In fact, them popping up through the concrete, protecting their chest cavity. That's actually kind of a benefit. Yeah, look, it's pretty safe. I'm not aiming at all. I'm just firing, set a mass and a bunch of them. Old mate at the back is still alive, I think. Excuse me, noggin. That was a lot of rounds, and they're all still green and tickly. Still need to murder you, though. Excuse me, you're jiggling all about. So want to come a bit forward, please? So that's very interesting that once they're through the block, he's now dead. Shot him in the kneecap. Used to be a demo man, but no longer. So it's very interesting that once they're through the collision block, then they just don't go back to crawling again. That's kind of interesting. But okay, so the general mechanic of this works a treat. Now, I mean, even if you wanted to brute forces to sit with M60 and hose, you definitely could. But this looks prime for a couple of traps or 7. For exploring the basic mechanics of the crawling mechanic, I think that works out pretty well. We now know how to force them into a crawl and then how to take advantage of that. And shock horror, in a zombie game, the way to take advantage of something is to shoot it in the bloody face. Who would have thought it? But now that we have that as a proof of concepts, it's screaming, it's begging, it is pleading to have like either electric fences or blade traps, or probably both, in that cavity. Because if they're all crawling through at the same height, 1 or 2 or 3 electric fences are going to do a heckin' good job. And the issues I was having with the M60s not reloading fast enough will be negated by slowing down the zombies. So I'm going to chuck in a couple of electric fences and try and find a spot for some blade traps too. Because they do seem to be crawling... Don't know why they do this. They're crawling up the walls instead of down the middle, which means that I might be able to chuck in some some vertical blade traps on either side. So when they do go to either side, they'll get sliced up. If they stay in the middle, I was going to say like even like the penetrator perk or a rifle might be good, but I don't think rifles are good for big zombie horde nights, just in any way, shape or form. I've put in 3 rows of electric fences. Not too expensive to do. It's just like a matter of power and stuff. Electric fences are really bloody good. There will definitely be a way, especially actually if you're building this underground, you could run these electric fences like off in a separate chamber off to the side that you can access so that you can get out there and do repairs while the zombies are still making their way through here. Then you can add like dart traps and all sorts. Ooh, dart traps. Dart traps will be fun actually, because again, they're all going down the same channel. You can just have them at one level and fire straight down the guts there and shoot them all up the clacker. That should be pretty fun. Might add one of those in. But yeah, if you have this underground in a cavity, then you can have access to repairing stuff much easier than an elevated base. There are pros and cons to both. I just prefer elevated ones, which is why I build them most of the time. And electrocute myself half the time as well. But now that that's there, I need to get myself some board, some blade traps, grab you, and chuck you up into the ceiling. Hopefully vertically will work. I am just worried that giving them any sort of cavity here to stand up into will make them stand up, but we'll see how that goes. Chuck you in like that, so you're slicing and dicing down at this level. Hopefully that'll encourage them to stay low, but we'll see. Oh, it's deleted my roof. Alright, hang on. You know what? If there's a 1 block high gap down that the zombies are coming through, and blade traps are 1 block high, why wouldn't I just put it horizontally down the bottom there? I've already got this, so I'll test this, but actually no, that'd be a bad idea, because I'm spraying with an M60. I'm going to put more bullets into the stem of a blade trap than anything else, so keeping them up and out of the way is definitely the right option. If you've got good enough aim, then by all means, go for it, but I'm also going to chuck in you like that. Get a real, like, salad shredder going on in here. I now hate that you're the wrong way around, so I'm going to put you in, come on, that way. There we go, so you're all spinning the right way. So when I get to there, they're all going to get shredded. I just need to put in some sheets over the top to better cover up that little gap there. I don't know what I'm expecting out of this. I kind of think they'll probably stand up and cause some issues, but if I have a whole gaping gap there waiting for it, that's the best way to go to try and experiment with that and make doubly sure of it. Just plug you up like that so there's no gaps in the ceiling. Nice, get you turned on, get you whirling and girling, and see how much you slice. That looks pretty ominous, but I don't know why. Why didn't I put in... I left a gap in the electric fences thinking that that's where the blade traps will go, but the wire doesn't affect the blade traps at all. So I may as well run one right through the guts of the blade traps to kind of lock... So when it gets there, they'll get electrocuted and get locked into the blade traps. For now though, I'll quickly just disconnect you and disconnect you so I can see what happens when the zombies make it all the way to the front. Let's run a horde again. 2200, there we go. Got my M60, got you loaded and ready to go. Well, they don't have any mods in you right now, but that's okay. Are you all coming for me? No, you're not. Okay. No, actually no, I'll stick with the AK, because I'm more curious about how this is going to go. If they stand up here, then that's one thing. But if they stay crouched and keep getting sliced up... They did, oh, they do stand up. Because they stand up... because they do stand up, it puts my blade traps at risk. Yeah, they're not just standing up because they're getting hit either. They are seeing that as a cavity. Dang. Oh, I was really hopeful for that for a second, but that's okay. That's right. I'll... What is happening over there? They're all stuck. Man, I've broken this game a lot of ways, but I'm still surprised when I find new ways to break this shit. Look at that. I have like a chorus of standing zombies. I know I do a good job of making bases, but a standing ovation's a bit much. I think we can agree that while those 3 vertical blade traps did work pretty well, it caused more issues than I wanted, plus they were standing up when they got to it. So I want to try and avoid that if I can. I'm going to need some concrete blocks. Had to quickly empty my inventory from all the zombie loot I picked up. Grab you and just chuck you in over the top. Like that. I can get rid of the sheets on top if I need to, but that's fine. I can just stay there for the moment. Make this all nice and, ow! Sparky apparently, but all nice and the same as everything else. Analogous? I think that's the word I'm looking for. I shouldn't try and use words I don't understand the meaning of. All of you needs to be red again. Okay, so I just have a blade trap smack dab in the center there. I think it'll work okay. I just don't know. I'm just worried about that center pylon being broken, because if that breaks, then it's all redundant anyway. Here we go. This is the one I wanted. For some reason, not called a gable like everything else of that design is, but a wedge tip full. Chuck you in, get your rotation going the right way, please, so you're acting like a zombie water break. Come on, that one there. You go like that. Already went past, ow, the other ones, ow, ow, ow. God, I hate electricity. Power's lots of my dreams, but just seems to sizzle me more than anyone else. That way. Okay, now yes, it is going to constrict my view a little bit, like down the sides. So take that as you may, but actually, why do I need to put that right up against the blade trap when I could just put it much, much further down right at the entryway? So when they start crawling, it's 1 or 2 of the channels. Yes, it'd be easier if it was a single channel, but we'll ignore that for the moment. But that should Yeah, that should be fine. All right, let's give that a whirl. Here we go. They're all coming in. There's a copy out there ready to vomit at me. You get slices. Still keeping the bodies there. I wish there was a way to have like a body disposal system. Here you go. The electric fences still work wonderfully, but when you get to me, you're either already dead because you're taking so much more damage this way than you would with the vertical, it seems, because it's hitting you in the head, in the gut, and in the legs as you're cruising through. And more importantly, you're all coming down the same side. There's no more spread. You're all going through there. And even if you do go to the other side, the other lane, well, what's so bad about that? You know, you're going to get sliced and diced on the other side, and I'll be able to see you from here and shoot you anyway. Loot's getting in the way. Excuse me, please. I need to get all that shit out of my way nice and quickly. As I said before, there are definitely some issues with this. Like, it's not as clean as like a killing corridor or something is. But I mean, if you just want to get headshots and nothing else, like it's an OG zombie apocalypse where headshots actually matter, like you're playing the Doomsday mod, then this would be the go. This would be the bloody go. I haven't got half my electric fences turned on. I'm only letting them get to the blade trap before anything bad happens to them. And I'm just rinsing all you like. I have some time to reload, because you guys will get tickled before you get to me. Or just flat out murdered. Although the blades are getting wonky. The blades are getting wonky. You're going down the wrong way. That's fine, we can murder you. If the blades are getting wonky, it means the blade trap is taking damage. I just never have any success with blade traps. I can never get them to last a whole horde night. They always die so quickly for me. I'm just doing something wrong with them. Someone tell me how to do it. Just for funsies, I'm going to wire up the other two electric fences like that. How much damage are you guys taking, actually? Not much, and not much. That's fine. So it is the electric fence posts on the other side. Like if there's two, and the zombies go through the middle, it's the one the current's going into that takes the damage. That was not a good explanation at all. Hopefully someone figured out what the shit I was on about. Quickly reload the M60 again. So what's this? This is 8 electric fences and 1 blade trap. Not really much at all, and I'm fighting a very late game horde. Yes, I'm using an M60, but that's fine. 111 game stage. Materials-wise, actually very efficient. I quite like it. I quite like it a lot. I think there's a clown on this side. Yes, there is. They're coming from both ways. But even if they do make it all the way to the front, all I do is just aim that way and rinse them there. There's not really that much of a problem. And in fact, right in the middle here, assuming this wasn't glass on the side, I don't think the cops would vomit at me either. I'm going to leave this video here, but there you go. Like, to understand the mechanics of how the zombies crawl, now we know exactly how it works, so you can use that for your bases how you want. Again, you don't have to build things exactly the way I do it. That's why I kind of like try and explain and show the mechanics I'm using at the start before I build like the base I'm incorporating into, so that you can apply it however you think is best. But just as like what, couple electric fences and a blade trap, you'd have to build yourself an escape route at the back, maybe even like a zombie dropper or something if you want to get real excited about it. Have like a grenade pit at the end, so if they do make it all the way through, you lob a grenade down into a pit of zombies every now and again, pull the pin and watch them go, well, not sky high because he's probably underground, but you know what I mean. That will be kick bloody ass. There are so many different like cool mechanics you can use in 7 days at the moment. Hopefully things don't get patched out because that would suck. Hey, if you want to patch something out, patch out zombies clipping through blocks. That would be a good start. But man, that's satisfying. Having all those headshots with some aiming center mass, so bloody satisfying. So I'm gonna call that like a headshot base and move on to something else. Maybe I'll come and do a pit base. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how I feel on another day in another episode, because this episode is done. So thank you guys for watching. Most of all, thank you to the patrons of the Patreon who made this episode possible. If you liked it, make sure you hit the like button down below and subscribe to this channel. Follow me on Twitter. Even though I talk to you there first, I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.